Aston Martin do a full U-turn on Christian Horner. So how do they go from 2 months ago releasing a statement saying that Christian Horner would not be working with Aston Martin in a operational or financial capacity now or in the future, to now this breaking news story that Aston Martin want Horner to replace Andy Cowell? Wow, there's a lot to get into, but what you may not know, we're also going to be touching on what has infuriated Lawrence Stroll from the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it's to do with his son, Lance. We are going to be getting into all of it. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. If you do enjoy the video, please do hit a like on it. It makes a big difference. Also, if you haven't hit the notification bell, do that as well. It means that you can keep up to date with all of our content so you won't miss any of it. So yeah, it's crazy. Crazy, crazy times. Christian Horner, you cannot keep him out of the news. He is favourite to take over from Andy Cowell. Now, Andy Cowell, just 2 months ago, you know him, team boss, Aston Martin, came out with these statements. Under the advice, I'm sure, from Lawrence Stroll. And this is what came out. He said, I had a chat with Lawrence Stroll. This was 2 months ago. This morning, to find out what he knows. He told the media, it looks as though Christian is ringing up pretty much every team owner at the moment, so you can pass that question along. He's basically mocking Horner at this point. And he said, I can clearly say there are no plans for involvement of Christian either in an operational or investment role in the future. So Christian Horner, what does he do at this point? He goes, okay, the door's closed at Aston Martin. And at that point, Christian Horner was walking around with a bag of cash of about 100 million. We now know Christian Horner has got backing to the tune of about 1.5 billion pounds, which is a lot more. But that isn't the only thing that changes things. What changes things is that Andy Cowell is really losing his value at Aston Martin, because Adrian Newey comes in. He's taking control of the development of the 26 car. You've got to remember, Andy Cowell is also an engineer. Yet, he's not making any engineering decisions. He's actually a power unit specialist. And he did very well over at Mercedes. But they've got Honda now supplying the power units, which are basically taking care of that whole department. They've got Adrian Newey, who's making all of the development decisions for the 2026 car. So Andy Cowell really needs to make the decisions of executing a good Grand Prix. And that's something we're going to get into, of why Lawrence Stroll is furious with Andy Cowell from decisions that were made at the Las Vegas Grand Prix to do with Lance Stroll. And that is why Andy Cowell, his card is now marked from Papa Stroll. But let's just remind ourselves of why Andy Cowell's value's going down. So Andy Cowell clearly said about the leadership of the team since Newey's come in. I think that's where having Adrian as one of the most experienced people in the paddock helps so much. So in terms of final decision making, there's a very clear final decision maker. So Andy Cowell, CEO and team principal, all of those decisions are now gone from him. Now Newey's come in. Value decreased. So what we need Andy Cowell to do is execute a great race weekend and make good choices. This weekend, like I said, Lawrence is furious with Andy Cowell, and it's not being spoken about enough, but just watch this. It's very, very telling.
Q1 and then beginning of Q2 we were first for some time, and then yeah, just a bad decision to go on Inters. Yeah, me, team, we thought it was going to be good enough for Inters, and we tried it, but I thought I was going to get, they said I was going to get 3 push, I only got 2 push, so there was a misunderstanding there. And then, yeah, we threw it away. We threw away the opportunity, I think, to fight for probably first today.
So as you can see there, Lance said quite clearly he felt that the Aston Martin could compete for a pole position. And to be fair to Lance, he was very quick in Q1. He was quick in Q2. He was up there, putting in fast times as the track is evolving. And then in Q2, like Lance said, there's a discussion with the pit wall. And that decision was made in Q2 to put Lance Stroll onto the intermediate tyre. He was the first driver to go onto the intermediates. No other driver in Q2 went on the intermediate. He was given the advice that he would get 3 hot laps. So he agreed to go on the intermediate tyre. It was the wrong advice and the wrong choice, and it meant that Lance Stroll did not make it through to Q3. Fernando Alonso stayed on the wets and made it through to Q3, when every driver in Q3 then went on to the immediate tyre. Lawrence is furious with that decision because it looks like it's Lance that gets thrown under the bus with the gamble. And it looks like Lance had the conversation and he had assurances from the pit wall that he would get 3 hot laps in. He didn't. He got 2 in and he was out in Q2. And I think Lance felt this was his best chance this year to get near the front of the grid. Because we do all know that Lance is actually pretty good in the wet. Whatever you might think of Lance Stroll, he can put a quick lap in the wet. Lawrence is furious about it because, like we said, when we talk about Andy Cowell's role now, all he has to do is execute a great weekend. So Lawrence is like going, "Hey, Andy, look, that's where your value has to be as team principal." And to do that to his flesh and blood, he's furious about it. So that is why Andy Cowell his head is about to roll at Aston Martin. So what are Aston Martin's choices? Well, as you know, it comes down to our man, Horner. Now, Christian Horner, as we know, was told the door was firmly shut at Aston Martin just 2 months ago. And Christian Horner is now in very advanced talks with taking over at Alpine or buying a stake in Alpine. That decision is very close to that deal is very close to being signed. Lawrence Stroll's gone, we can't wait. We cannot wait for that to happen. So Vegas happened. Lawrence is furious, and now he is in discussions with Horner before Horner completes the deal with Alpine. And here's the thing that everyone's been asking about. Well, what about Horner and Newey? Horner and Newey have built their bridges. They've been hanging out at Oasis concerts together. Now, why would he actually be open to working with Horner again? And here's the big thing. Andy Cowell is an engineer. There have been discussions or possible even arguments or pushback from Cowell to do with engineering questions about the 26 car. Newey doesn't need that. What Newey needs is to build the car, and what Newey needs is on race day that there is a team principal able to execute the right race strategy so his car gets showcased and optimized. There is no point having an engineer running that team if they cannot operationally execute the race weekend. And that's why Horner is in pole position to do a deal with Lawrence Stroll as taking some equity in the team and taking over operational control on race weekends. Horner is not an engineer. He's not going to get in Newey's way. He never did at Red Bull. He relied on Newey. Any engineering decisions, of course, if Newey said paint the car red, you paint the car red. You know, Newey makes those decisions without challenge. So when people talk about Andreas Seidel, who is the other guy who's been talked about as a possible replacement for Cowell, this man who did oversee some of the improvements at McLaren, he did get sacked though from Audi and replaced by Binotto. What's the big problem with him? It's not that he isn't respected on the paddock, because he is. The big problem with Andreas is he's an engineer. Now, in some teams, having an engineer as your team principal is perfect, but the one exception to that rule is when you've got Adrian Newey in your team designing the car. He doesn't need an engineer challenging him. What he needs to know is, listen, I've got this from an engineering point of view. I just need somebody to execute the race weekend who will maximize the performance of the car that I build. I deal with everything off track. You deal with everything on track. So that's why Horner is now firmly in the frame to do a deal with Lawrence Stroll. It would have to be an equity deal, at least on parity with Adrian Newey. But the reason why this is moving so quickly is because Christian Horner was literally about to complete his deal with Alpine. But the straw that broke the camel's back was exactly what we heard from Lance Stroll, and Lawrence Stroll was furious about those decisions that were taken at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Wow, it gets so darn spicy. Don't forget to join me tonight at 7:30 for our live stream. More F1 news. Come and get involved, get interactive. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. Smash a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Hit the notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of our content. And thank you again for all of your support. And I will see you on the next one. Ta-ta.